My name is Maria-Len Budworth, and I am a faculty member in the School of Human Resource Management within LAPS. I will be your moderator today. So today we have, in our agenda, we'll have remarks from the President, and there'll be a chance for you to ask questions and have a conversation with both the President and the Vice Presidents here. So before we get started, I'd like to say that York acknowledges its presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Tekaronto has been taken by the Anishinaabe, been caretaken by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, and the Métis. It is now home to many Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations. This territory is subject to the Dish and One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. We've heard from your community that people want a chance to talk and exchange ideas in a safe and respectful environment. Today is an opportunity to do exactly that. Before we get started, I'd like just a few housekeeping pieces. I welcome you all to come on in and make yourself comfortable. There's lots of room here up front to take a seat. I'd also ask that you turn off your cell phones if you're in the room here. I'd like to welcome you all to the Town Hall, and I'd like to welcome those who are joining by webcast and from Glendon. At this point in time, I'd like to ask our President, Dr. Rhonda Lenton, to come to the stage to present her remarks.
Thanks very much, Marie-Hélène. So we are hoping it's a formal setting, but to keep the conversation, just that, a conversation, I do want to provide a few highlights, really focusing on two things. Some of the progress that we've made in 18-19, and some of the opportunities that we've identified for 19-20. I always come back to this circle because it captures a lot of information, but it's important information about how our vision, as you kind of start from the center of this circle, and you've heard me talk about our vision, and it's really a distinctive reputation that this university has, that we provide a broad demographic of students access to a high-quality, research-intensive university committed to the public good. And I've talked about the pillars that underpin that vision around access and what we can do to strengthen access, making sure that we're not leaving talent behind. Connectedness, working with each other and with our partners and the broader community locally and internationally. Excellence, being the best that we can in everything we do. And if we do those right, maximizing the impact that we are having on the social, environmental, economic, cultural well-being of the communities that we serve. That's reflected in the middle. And then around that, in that next group, those are the 7 university academic planning priorities that we've been trying to advance over the last 5 years. We are in the final year of our 2015 to 2020 UAP. We'll be planning with the Senate APPRC and the Provost, thinking about the next 5 years. But then around the final outer circle, what are we trying to accomplish in very broad strokes? What are our intended outcomes? Our intended outcomes are to amplify our scholarship, research, and creative activities, and innovation and knowledge mobilization for maximum impact. Our outcome is to really be innovative in how we think about cross-sector collaboration and working with partners, both locally and internationally. And ultimately, it is about ensuring that we are graduating globally educated citizens that are prepared for success in a rapidly changing world. So, just released now is the 2018-19 President's Annual Impact Report, and that'll be broadly available. But importantly in that document, we try to do a couple of things. We try to highlight just a few of our successes to capture the imagination of this university. But then in the back, there's also an insert where we're tracking particular outcomes that we've promised to track so that we know if we're making the kind of progress that we're hoping to make. So this is really, and there's always the risk in giving some highlights of what you're leaving out. So this is just really a sample of some of the highlights that I want to talk about. You know, we made a particular commitment over these last number of years to be responsive to the Truth and Reconciliation Report, and we developed an Indigenous framework, and all the different faculties and divisions have really been taking up what does that mean if we really want to create a welcoming environment and increase the participation rate of Indigenous peoples, whether or not that's students, staff, faculty, and so forth. And I'm very proud to say that we've really increased the percentage of our Indigenous students, for example. We have new programs in indigeneity. But that's just one example. We've also been thinking about, how do we meet the needs of mature learners in a society where over 50% of jobs are being impacted by automation and artificial intelligence. So the School of Continuing Studies, as well as the other continuing studies units in Schulich and Osgoode Education, Health, we're really increasing the engagement and serving those new needs, all part of thinking about the full diversity of our student population. Connectedness, again, some really great highlights. We always have talked about VISTA, of course, but our connectedness is also demonstrated in how we're working with partners to really maximize our impact. TD has provided another $1 million to ensure the continuity of the York University Toronto Dominion Community Engagement Centre. This is all way too small for me to actually look at, so far I've managed to do this from memory. I'm just going to go a little bit closer. I wanted to also just talk about the fact that for some time now, given that where we're situated, we've obviously always been thinking about how we are serving the city of Toronto. But with the huge growth that's been happening in York Region over the last number of years, the whole lens of how you even think about where the center of the GTA is changing. And we've been developing and expanding our footprint in York Region, both through Innovation York and through the Y Space. And now we have courses being offered by ADMS and BCom in the IBM space in Markham. So we continue to work with our partners to have our presence felt. We're also talking with the City of Vaughan and Mackenzie Health and Venture Lab about how we could potentially create a healthcare center precinct in Vaughan and really reaching out into the community. And I think this is a really important point about connectedness. It's not just about staying on our own campuses at Glendon or Keele. It's about how are we moving out into the communities that we serve. Over this last period of time, we've also been really undertaking pan-university budget consultations because we always want to make sure that we're connecting with everyone about what are our priorities and how are we making sure that we're putting those resources to the priorities that we all agree are important for us in terms of advancing our vision. Excellence, we could talk about the multitude of different ways in which this university has been demonstrating its excellence and doing things in a distinct way. Everyone, of course, is taking up experiential education. But we have a very broad definition of how we think about experiential education. Everything from simulations from our Adderson lab, for example, all the way through to internship co-op, community-based research. And we've got this really innovative dev degree that's a combination, a partnership between Shopify and engineering that allows students to spend a significant amount of their time working in teams on problems in the Shopify company and marrying that with their academic lessons. We could talk about as well the fact that I really want to emphasize this in terms of some of the infrastructure that's been built. So our success with the SIF and having the expansions and the renovations of our Parkinson science labs, of the McEwen expansion at Schulich. So there are many examples that one can talk about. Kinesiology being ranked as one of the top sports science schools in the world. So those are just a few examples, and you can read that chart up on top there behind me. But as we do all of that well, I think that we're starting to get recognized for exactly what we say we're about, which is our impact. And the fact that in the most recent Times Higher Education New Impact ranking, that we did 5th in Canada and 26th in the world, it's a reflection of exactly the kind of university that we want to be. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that we now have a network of centers of excellence in the area of youth homelessness, social innovation, which again is just an example of the fact that not only is York C's, we're thinking about scientific and technological innovation, but we are also a leader in the area of social innovation. I do want to take a moment to talk about our Maclean's University rankings. Rankings are not everything, and we also know that there's certain kinds of flaws and omissions in the rankings, but we have had some challenges over the last year, and I think it's really incredible that through all the hard work of people in this room and across the university, we've nevertheless been able to hold our position in terms of our overall reputation. We're in the top half of the 49 universities that are ranked. I like these 3 indicators because they talk about quality, which we've been able to maintain, highest quality, most innovative. We did drop down one there, and that's something that we need to give attention to because we want to be innovative, but again, we're still well in the top half of those universities. I particularly like the leaders of tomorrow, because when we think about that, we want to graduate these globally educated citizens who think about their impact around the world. The fact that we actually improved our ranking by 4 between last year and this year, I think is quite impressive. Some of our programs, of course, are in the top 10. Psychology, education, math, business, all doing incredibly well. I could add kinesiology to that list. So we've had a great deal of success over this last year, and this is overall in terms of the momentum that we've had, really dating back to the white paper of 2010 to 20 over the last 9 years, and wanting to kind of consolidate as much progress as we can make in this final year as we start thinking about the next 5 years. And you know, at this university, we have a strong planning culture. We really believe in having a Senate-approved university academic plan that lays out the vision, our mission, our top priorities. But then to make sure that we're moving forward those priorities, every division, every faculty has their own operational plan, which we call the Integrated Resource Plan, or IRP. And people specify the objectives and the actions that they're going to take to help move those priorities forward. And they also talk about the expected outcomes and metrics of success that they're going to be looking at to make sure that we are making success, making sure that we are supporting that success. But there's also an advantage at a pan-university level to be thinking about what do we need to be doing institutionally to really be supporting and bringing together all of those different divisional and faculty and area unit plans. So the president and the vice president's group, PVP, we identified 16 objectives which we thought would really benefit and support those individual local plans if we took an institutional lens. And those 16 objectives on the right-hand side are linked directly to the 7 priorities in the university academic plan. And as we look forward, we're starting to think, okay, in those 16 objectives, what are some opportunities that we have to not only continue that momentum, but to really forge ahead? We've had some success with experiential education. Pedagogical innovation is one of those objectives. However, even though we've had some success, York University has ranked 15th out of 15 at the comprehensive universities. That is a problem. Why is it that students are either not recognizing that they're in experiential education activities, or we haven't done a good enough job of promoting, or we need to expand or increase? This is a huge opportunity for our students when you think about the fact that over 60% of our students work part-time. So giving them an opportunity to bridge career networking, work experience with their academic studies can make an enormous difference for our students, not to mention how it impacts deep learning. Markham, which I'll talk about briefly as an opportunity. The Vaughan, I've already talked about. Continuing to intensify our scholarship, research, and creative activities. Thinking about employee engagement. Really developing a sense that we are all on the same team, that we're all working together to try to advance what is an incredibly important university that makes a distinct contribution, not only in Ontario, but in Canada and globally. And if everyone feels that identity, we will make that much more progress. The internationalization, global engagement. We talk about being a global university, and so where are we situated in the globe, and how are we staying competitive? How are we ensuring that we're both attracting international staff and faculty and students, but that we're also giving students an opportunity to have an international activity somewhere around the world. So these are just some, I'm not going to go through them all. Personalized student service for a diverse student population, that can make a huge impact for us. These are just some of the opportunities that we feel, building on our existing strengths, that we could really move this university forward. I want to pause for a minute on the Markham Center campus, because not all of you attend Senate, and not all of you have an opportunity to hear about the Markham Center campus. Yesterday, the Board of Governors, was that yesterday? Tuesday, yeah. Yeah, of course. I missed a day yesterday. Tuesday, the Board of Governors supported York University's new business model for going ahead with the campus. Some of you will remember going back to 2014 when the government first put out the call for the need for new campuses, looking at the huge growth of 18 to 24-year-olds that was going to be happening in York Region and Peel in particular, that York was the only university whose proposal was accepted amongst 19 proposals that were submitted. We're also well aware that when the provincial government changed, that they withdrew the funding for the capital. And we really felt that to let this idea go, when we had a $25 million commitment from York Region and a $50 million value land contribution from Markham. We had already put down a path for philanthropy, for donor contribution. We already have a $10 million lead gift, not to mention the resources that we were going to leverage by locating in York Region. That this was an idea that was too important for the overall York's ability to continue to advance our plan and actually to create some of the additional space and resources that we needed to support new program development, new faculty complement. And so the location of that campus, for some of you who don't know, right in Markham Center campus, it is one of the fastest growing areas anywhere in Ontario. And I'm not sure I've done the Canadian assessment, but potentially in Canada. And some people have said, well, could we just continue to grow York? And the challenge and why we felt that Markham makes so much sense, it goes back to that issue that I said before about not assuming that everyone will come to you, about the value of us going out into the community. Every one of the municipalities in York Region has in their secondary plans a university. We want to be the university that is going to help those municipalities grow and that they see us as their core partner. It's also going to allow us to utilize the athletic facilities that already exist in Markham, the food services, the energy, the parking spots. So it's actually a way to expand York University, support, complement, and new program development in a very cost-effective way. I've mentioned some of the opportunities this poses for York, and I think the important piece is that there's going to be an advantage to a wide variety of different programs and faculties that are coming there, thinking about where do we have unmet capacity in a program here, or where do we want to develop a new program really responsive to the socioeconomic needs of Markham specifically, but York Region and Ontario more generally. We also think it'll be incredibly helpful for us in terms of positioning York relative to the new Strategic Mandate Agreement 3 and the metrics that we're going to be measured at. But importantly, the business model was designed to ensure that while we were growing Markham for the benefit of York at large, that we were going to also be able to maintain the important investment that is needed on the Glendon and the Kiel campuses as we move forward. The next step is now to advance the process around the Markham Center campus with government, and of course with leadership from the provost, the deans, and others to re-engage the entire community on the governance model now, on the academic programming. We had been well down that path already, but we obviously now need to re-engage the community. Our goal is to be in the ground by 2020 so that we could open the doors by 2023. And the final element that I want to comment on before inviting my other VPs to join me, is the SMA3. While we continue to move this university forward and think about the distinctiveness, the unique contribution that this university continues to make, we should never turn our eyes away from the external context. What is happening? What are other universities doing? What is our relationship with government? And we know that this government is moving forward performance-based model of funding so that over time, a total of 60% of the grant money that they fund to us will be tied to metrics, and that they have determined the metrics themselves for the most part, although they have engaged us in how to operationalize those metrics. So we are having some say in what those metrics look like. I wouldn't say that the metrics are ideal. They're reliable in the sense that they're easy to measure for the most part, but in terms of the validity, measuring the richness of what universities do. So from our point of view, it's going to be essential that we stay on course with our own vision, our own priorities, and we are just strategic as an institution about how we ensure that we are meeting those metrics, because obviously we do not want to lose any of our funding at the university. The goal is to take a principled approach to what we value. Think about this from an institutional point of view, work together with colleagues about how we can best strategize on ensuring that we continue to advance the metrics. One good point of all of this is that we will have some say in slight variations in weights of the metrics, and each university is to be, and college, is to be evaluated against its own baseline, as opposed to being compared to others. So there's room, no matter what the starting point is on those metrics, for any university to think about what's like experiential education. This is an important goal for us. It happens to be one of the metrics. So to the extent that we can align what matters to us with those metrics, that's the task. So that's the brief overview to highlight some of the opportunities that I think that we have in 2019, 20, and beyond, and that I very much hope will inform the development of the new university academic plan. I'm firmly of the view that York University has always been a bit ahead of where the rest of the entire higher education system goes. And I have evidence of this when I sit around tables and people are talking about community engagement and social innovation as if these are new concepts, interdisciplinarity, and York led in all of those areas. So I do believe that York has a significant role to continue to play in higher education, especially as we see that 2/3 of all new emerging jobs are going to require higher education, and we know how the entire economy is being impacted, as I've said, by technology, and therefore the important role that universities are going to play in ensuring that our students are prepared and Canada remains competitive. So thank you very much. Are you inviting them or am I inviting them?
I'll invite them.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so I will ask now that the Vice Presidents join us on stage. We have Vice President and Provost Lisa Phillips, Vice President of Finance and Administration Carol McCauley, Interim Vice President of Research and Innovation Rui Wang, Vice President of Advancement Jeff O'Hagan, and our newest Vice President of Equity, People, and Culture, Sheila Cote Meeks. A warm welcome to Sheila Cote Meeks, who just joined us last week. So our senior administration will be answering questions based on their portfolios. Before we get to the questions, however, I'd like to just set some guidelines for how we proceed. We're asking that the questions be kept to about a minute at a time so that we can fit in as many questions as possible in the time that we have. We'd prefer that people ask questions so that we can engage with the vice presidents and the presidents as they are here. But if you have comments are welcome as well. In either case, if you're able to limit yourself to one comment or question per turn at the microphone. We want to have an open, honest, and positive dialogue with a respectful tone. So I ask that we all keep that in mind as we engage today in a conversation. We do in the room have several roving microphones. Where are those? So there we go. There's a green and an orange in the room. Those roving microphones are here to make sure that your question is heard. So if you do have a question, please make yourself visible to me, and I will indicate that a microphone should be sent to you. If you are with us on webcast or from Glendon, please take advantage of the Twitter hashtag #YUTownHall to ask questions. We'll be sure to, I'll be fed those questions while I'm up here, and I'll be able to ask them on your behalf. Okay, so we will begin. I'll begin with a pre-submitted question. This is a question that's actually represented by 2 student questions that came in by email in advance of the town hall. We'll start with, what is our university currently doing to help mitigate one of the most important issues of our current generation, climate change? What solutions can we provide for future generations, and how can we take steps necessary to mitigate these changes as soon as possible? And not in the interest of confusing, but in the interest of making sure the full question is heard, another student is concerned, are there plans to help address climate change emergency by working to make York a carbon-free campus? Okay. So.
I'm actually going to just mention that just recently I asked the Vice President of Finance and Administration if she would take up how York can continue to lead in the area of climate change. It is obviously one of the most urgent problems facing the world today. I am proud that York University has been recognized as one of the greenest employers for 7 years in a row, but there is way more that needs to be done in thinking about how we're actually going to set specific deliverables and targets. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Carol to comment further.
Thanks. Thanks very much. This is an area I'm very passionate about, so I hope I won't run on too long, but I do want to give a few statistics. You may not know that York has reduced its carbon emissions by 30% since 2007, at the same time increasing our square footage, our built form, by about 30%. So that's quite a feat in and of itself. We don't always celebrate some of the things that we've already accomplished. So I think that that's an important thing for us all to know. The President's Sustainability Council is a very important advisory group, and it's represented by faculty, staff, students, community members, and has provided a strategic plan, or informed the strategic plan that was approved last year by the President. And it's really develops the sustainability strategy in three areas: people. So how do we change our behavior? How do we as people contribute to the sustainability and answering to the climate change emergency? Place, that talks about energy use, that talks about reducing our footprint on the world as we think about the spaces that we build for ourselves. Do we need them to be as big? Do we need them to be as intensive? Or could we, in fact, bring the outside in more or lower our footprint? And knowledge. And this is an area that York University has always led, and I know the VP Research or the VP Academic and Provost could speak more eloquently than I could, but certainly York has always been known as a leader in education, in environmental studies, and in education and enhancement of sustainability. Just to speak specifically to the President's request that we've been discussing is setting an objective. Specifically, the request is that by the end of this year, so by the end of this fiscal year, academic year, we develop specific targets for carbon for York University, that we do that through a consultative and collaborative and collegial process. And so I'll be engaging with you and with others across our community very soon to talk about how we set those targets. I think one question specifically was, are we looking towards carbon neutrality? We see other universities have set carbon neutrality by 2050 as a goal. I think that's one that's aggressive, and I think that's one that is one that I wouldn't be surprised if our community says is achievable and our goal. So I'm very happy that we're on that path.
Thank you, Vice President McCauley. Is there a question in the room? Okay, as we tee up a question in the room, we don't have one. I'll go on to another question, but please, let's take this opportunity. So here's a question from a staff member that was submitted in advance. How is York encouraging its community to be active participants in making our democracy a functional one?
So I'm going to, again, ask one of the VPs to comment on this, because we have slightly different, I think, takes maybe on the complementary, but different kinds of takes. I want to say something about how a theme of, or a fundamental pillar of democracy, which is around the role that universities play in freedom of speech. And freedom of speech requires that we actually civilly enter into a kind of engagement where we listen to each other and try to understand what the other is saying, what they're afraid of, what is perhaps driving anger, and try to look for opportunities to reconcile those differences. And we have talked for a very long time that if not at university, where is there another forum that there is that chance to try to be persuasive and backed up by our research to try to actually solve some of the issues around the world? And that is a fundamental pillar of engaging and advancing and protecting democracy. And I want to say that now at this particular time because just even quite recently on campus, people can quickly start to enter into a type of engagement where civility gets lost, and it's only about protecting my own right to speak and not protecting the other's right to speak. And we have to each take responsibility for listening to the other if universities are going to really continue to advance democracy. I'm going to turn it over for some additional comments to the provost.
Hi, everyone. I really welcome this question because I think that it's so close to the core of what universities have to offer society is helping people, all of us who are part of the community, most especially our students perhaps, right, develop and hone our independent thinking abilities, our critical thinking abilities, our ability to communicate and engage and understand differences around the world. And so I think especially a university like York that has such strong social sciences, humanities disciplines, professional studies, right? We really, in some ways, specialize in scrutinizing the ideas that need to be debated in democracy. So it's a wonderful question. I think we do this all day, every day, in some senses. Some particular things that I've been impressed by recently are in the York University libraries. There's been some initiatives around digital literacy to help people understand about the phenomenon of fake news, fake academic journals. How can we be critical consumers of media in a digital age when the variety of platforms is exploding, the sources aren't always clear. So a wonderful program that the libraries have done. We also have quite a number of faculty and students. There's a particular initiative in grad studies, for instance, to produce podcasts, videos, blogs, op-ed commentaries, various ways in which we can get ideas and real analysis out there in the wider public sphere so that we can expand the audience that's looking for well-informed commentary to really inform their thinking and help them decide about voting or what they think about some of the big issues of the day. The final thing I'll say is as part of our University Academic Plan renewal exercise that we're going to be we're already in the Senate APPRC committee, we're talking actively about how we will go about that. And one idea that has surfaced that I think is quite interesting and that a lot of people seem to like, I'd be interested in any reactions to it here, is that we try to orient our next University Academic Plan around some grand challenges, some big societal challenges that our university, with its distinctive strengths, might especially be able to contribute to through our teaching, through our research, through our community activities, through the way we run our campus, in everything that we do. And the promotion of democracy and enabling of democracy might very well be and a good example of one such grand challenge that a university like York is well positioned to contribute to. So I welcome the question and thanks very much for giving me a chance to think about it a little bit.
Please,
Thanks
Jeff.
very much. I just thought I would make a really quick comment as well about York's contribution to democracy, and this is really through our students who are very active, of course, and then they become our alumni, and people may not realize that there's something like 40 or 45 York alumni who are running in this current federal election. And we have many alumni that have held positions in the various parties and in various governments at all levels, and we really see that ripple effect of what happens here on campus, the discourse, the learning, and the contributions to democracy in a way that carries on for many, many years. So look on some of the bios of some of the candidates in the election, and you'll find York alumni there.
Thank you. We have a question right by the green mic. Yes, thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm a student here. I'm a graduate student. I also attended York University as an undergraduate student. This might be a little ambitious, but do you think that York University can be among the top 5 universities in the coming years? And how do you think we can get there? And what can students do to help York University get there?
I'm going to say that it's always best to try to look at your position right now and then plot out how you think you could move up that ranking one year over the next. If you're talking about the top 5, that question matters very much about what your base is. So if you're talking about the top 5 in Canada, that's a very different question than being top 5 in the world rankings. But just to answer your question, I do think that we cannot afford to ignore rankings. And there are ways, and there's a great, when I look at the rankings, I really am totally perplexed about where some universities where York is ranked lower. I'm thinking that's just like objectively, on objective measures, makes no sense. So I think it's important to understand rankings and how you can actually make sure that we are capturing everything that this university does. I don't think York does a good enough job of really capturing everything that we do, and there are ways in which we could take some steps, very simple steps, like putting every faculty member's CV on Academica, which would allows others to much more easily capture the articles that people still it's a problem for books, but captures the articles that people are publishing and links to them, and then those people start citing those people. Like there are strategies that universities have done, and we should take advantage of all of those strategies. Not just to be strategic, but we want people to know about what we're doing and about our work. And so how can we actually find ways to make sure that people do know? And I'm confident if we gave a bit of attention to that, you would see our rankings improve. There are items or activities that students can do. First of all, students themselves publish and are actively engaged in research. There are TAs, so in TA workshops about looking for ways that they can introduce experiential education activities. All of these factors impact directly rankings. So it's really a comprehensive, collaborative effort that we all need to be thinking about, and much of it is located in those 16 objectives and those kinds of opportunities that I identified. If we fully captured and moved those 16 along, it would have a positive impact on our ranking. I absolutely believe there's no reason why York University should not be one of the top ranked in the top 5 in Canada universities. I think that world ranking is a bit of a longer term strategy when you think about all those new universities that are also pouring into the list every year, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be trying to improve our ranking on the world list as well. I don't know if any of my colleagues want to go ahead, Ree.
I just want to echo the President's statement, but I want to add additional element about ranking. University as a whole ranking is important, but equally important is each individual discipline's ranking. When the student choosing the university, they looking at the university ranking, but many of them, they're looking for their kind of majors, and the disciplines they want to take. And let's talk about the discipline. The president gave the annual report already show, even Macklin's ranking, our business is number 4, right? Doesn't matter if we like the ranking or not, that is one of them. And certainly we are already in the top 5. Our VISTA program, which is and research, interdisciplinary research program already ranked in #1 in Canada. If it's not #1, we will never won the Canada First Research Excellence Award. So the many disciplines in this university, and definitely will be, are already in the top 5, and some of them are the top 1. So very soon in the whole world. So I really want to see every discipline makes a contribution to the university. Individual disciplines ranking eventually piled up to the university ranking.
Thank you. We have another one in the room. How about we cue that up while I ask a question that just came in over email, so we can pass that mic along, but I will ask another question. This question is specifically about the SMA3. Please, can the President talk about the SMA3 and discuss the metrics that the Premier has outlined and a realistic sense of what this means for York?
Do you want to take it?
We've had some good community consultations recently about SMA3, and so I'm happy to speak about this. Some of you will already know that there's a fairly short list of 10 performance metrics that the current government has set out. One of them we get to choose within it, some flexibility in terms of it needs to speak to our economic impact, but we can choose how we would want to measure that. So the metrics include things like the number of graduating students or fourth-year students who have taken a course with a required experiential education component, our share provincially of Tri-Council agency research income. There's also some outcome metrics for students after they leave the university, graduation rates, the number of students who say that they're employed in a related field, a field related to their studies within 6 months, within 2 years. Employment salaries has been one of the more controversial metrics that's included in the list. Industry-funded research is another item in the list. So, a range of things, but certainly they don't capture everything that York is or does, or everything that is part of our vision. So I think that, it's important that we've articulated a principle that we must continue to pursue our own vision and priorities, that we must always be driven first and foremost by that. We have to be conscious of and informed by the provincial funding terms and conditions, because we need that funding to support the full breadth and richness of activities that we do at the university. There is, I think, a bit of a gap between what the performance system looks like when you first look at it, and then when you dig down a little bit. As the President mentioned in her opening remarks, there is up to 60% of funding within 5 years would be subject to these metrics. However, we are being measured against our own historical performance. And so the goal is continuous improvement. So if we can show that sort of steady improvement by investing, for instance, as we have been, in experiential education, and that has been growing, and we continue to steadily grow that, I think that we should do just fine there, and we might want to indeed think about weighting that metric a little on the heavier side. Others are less easily within our grasp to control. And so I think that many of the things that we're already focused on in terms of student retention, student support, making sure that our students can complete their studies and have the academic supports that they need and the social supports that they need, those things we already care about. And perhaps doubling down that effort a little bit means that we will also have a more positive outcome on our metrics. So we're going to be doing, we're in the midst of actually a very thorough review of our own historical performance in each of these areas to identify where we think we might have quite a good confidence level, where we might think we have some vulnerability, what we can do to mitigate that, what we can do to support a strong performance on those measures, and we'll have to see how it operates. That's the other piece, is that until we see it in operation, we're not really going to know for sure exactly where we might need to make some adjustments. And when we see the first evaluation, it should be next fall, we will certainly be doing a deep dive and analysis of if we've lost any funding on any of the metrics, how could we intervene to change that? And another sort of positive element of the SMA3 is that the funding loss, if any, is for 1 year only. If you are to, return to a continuous improvement path the next year, your full funding is restored. So there are a number of ways I think we can manage this, and so we have our eyes closely on ensuring we do as well as we can.
All right, thank you. We have a question from the room.
Yes, I'm a senior citizen master's student in environmental studies here at York with a focus on climate change solutions. And I wanted to ask a question about the Markham Center campus. I'm wondering if during the planning stages you'll be really looking from the beginning to building smart buildings. It's easier to build smart buildings than try to retrofit stupid buildings, shall we say. And so I'm thinking in terms of the President's point about innovation not coming up as a strong suit for York, and whether
Let me say one comment that from the very get-go, the designing the campus, there were three very strong principles or themes that we wanted to address. One was accessibility, so being very thoughtful about accessibility. One was indigeneity, and the third was sustainability. And really wanting to ensure that all of the buildings that we put up, that we're trying to maximize the innovation to minimize our carbon impact. So yes, of course, that was all part of the design of the building, and then we kind of paused for a little while. Now we have to pick that up. Being able to pick it up will maybe afford the opportunity to do, something a bit even enhance what we're already doing. But I will say that we really were informed, and there were consultations, and thinking that you had it right, but then a new group saying, well, actually, you haven't really thought about that. So the building evolved, I thought, in quite a beautiful way, based on very broad input from the entire community.
There is a question at the back. If we could get a mic there. I think this will happen quickly enough.
I wear several hats at York. I'm a career development coordinator at the Career Centre. I also teach in humanities, where I focus on experiential education. And in both capacities, I'm on the leadership team of C4, the cross-campus capstone classroom. I was happy to hear you talk about challenges that the new strategic plan was going to be looking at, sort of these strategic challenges. And I was also happy to see recently terms of reference be sent out for cross-faculty initiatives. Can you speak a little bit about what your vision for cross-faculty programming, courses, collaborations might be in the future of York University?
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I think that's Carolyn Steele back there, if I'm right. Great question, and if anybody hasn't heard about C4, it's just an unbelievably exciting new teaching initiative. It's a capstone project that is going to be cross-faculty, pan-faculty. So students from any faculty in any program at any stage of study can sign up through an independent study course to be part of a team that will work on an issue or a problem or a research project that has been submitted by an outside agency. So they will actually learn from this outside agency. I know one of them is Pollution Probe, and there are, I think, 16 or so other ones who have asked for a team of students to work on a problem with them. So they'll be supervised by 2 faculty members each team from different disciplines. So it's just a very, very cool, innovative project. So I would love to see more of that. I think we're all waiting with bated breath to see sort of what the learnings are from this first iteration. In terms of cross-faculty programs, we did that piece of work last year on trying to articulate some guidelines for colleagues who want to do collaborative programming that crosses faculty lines. Because as interdisciplinary as we are in spirit and intellectually, we still have to deal with administrative structures, and people are assigned to one unit or another, their teaching load is here or there, and how do you then get together and teach in an area that really no one discipline can address by itself? I think increasingly we recognize the need to think across disciplines, to work in teams and collaborate. And so we came up with some guidelines to really, and which all of the deans happily endorsed, to really say to the community, we will find a way. the most important thing is that the strong academic ideas about new interdisciplinary programs or ways of putting together, for instance, a major in one area with a minor in another, or a new idea about how to expose students to different ways of thinking or get them working together, that we will work out things like program governance, we'll work out things like how the budget works, and that there are ways to negotiate this that don't have to stick with rigid rules about how the budget model works. And that the most important thing is that we not lose those opportunities, because that's often the most innovative academic spaces we have, is working together. And so the whole point was really to encourage that. We've got some excellent work going on right now around environmental science. We've got a new neuroscience program that's going to be a collaboration of 3 different units. We have a digital media program that's a collaboration between Arts, Media, Performance, and Design and Lassonde. And they are working with one program that students can come into from different entry points, and that allows those students to mix, to study together, but also to choose their own emphasis, right? If you're more of an engineering technical side person, or if you're more of a creative type person, but you need the other element in there as well. So I guess my vision is that we would become more and more creative and imaginative, and less inhibited about thinking across faculty boundaries, and more excited and engaged with working with each other in this incredible wealth of opportunities that we have at York University.
I just want to add something. I just think that is such a great question, because if you go back to that one slide that has all of the strategic opportunities for the future, program innovation and flexibility in how we put together credentials is a huge opportunity for the university. York always understood the importance of interdisciplinarity. And increasingly, as we think about the kind of wicked problems that we're faced with in society, that interdisciplinary collaboration is so crucially important. But those universities that can really start to imagine what is possible with combined credentials of all different kinds, micro-credentials, or a certificate or diploma or a minor with degrees or dual degrees, or how continuing studies, even non-degree, could ladder into some advanced standing credit for degree programs. Like that kind of imagination, which absolutely rests on collaboration across faculties, is going to be huge in the future. And I think that that's one potential opportunity to incubate some good ideas at the Markham campus. It's obviously sometimes easier when you're developing programs from scratch to bake that right in. How can we think differently about a common first year, or creating more opportunities for students to take an elective? We think even about how many of our students end up being entrepreneurs and start up their own small companies. My own daughter is taking clinical psychology PhD. She wants to be a clinical psychologist. She informed me last week that she and her partner, also a clinical psychologist, they're going to open up their own clinic. And I said, well, that's great, honey. What do you know about marketing, finance, budgeting? So an entrepreneurial certificate for her would be fantastic. So this is just another example of the huge opportunity that we have to demonstrate our leadership in those kinds of flexible program combinations that builds on York's historic strength in interdisciplinarity.
Great, thank you. We have another question.
Hello, everyone. I'm a staff and a York alumni, and thank you, everyone, for your earlier remarks. My question is really concerning the international students on campus. There is a growing number of them, and I would like to know what initiatives does the university take to support the current international students as well as the graduates, specifically in the area of cultural fluency, soft skills development, and transition. There's a report by Stats Canada that international students, while they possess characteristics for higher paying jobs, when they're controlled for those characteristics, they earn significantly less than Canadian students after graduation. So I would like to know what universities do for international students.
Well, we might all have something to say about this, and I'm not sure if our Dean of Grad There he is. He's right there. Might want to add something as well. I will say that from the start, York University has not chased international students as some institutions have to 40% of their student population faster than they can properly support them. We took a very different approach, that if you were going to attract, which we do want to attract international students, because frankly, as an international research intensive comprehensive university, we want the brightest minds from all over the world. So we obviously care about having a robust international student base. But our view was always that you had to grow international at a pace at which you were thinking about what are the proper student supports that you actually are going to need to ensure the success of those students. And we set a good balance that we thought for the institution to be around 20% international. It's not fixed in, it's not a hard fixed number, but that seemed to be the capacity that we felt we could provide those proper supports. And this links in with our general approach about really trying to think of a more personalized approach to student services. We do have an incredibly diverse student population, both undergraduate and grad. And they have different persona and they have different needs, and one set of student services is not going to be what another set of students need. We know that many international students actually end up staying in Canada and contributing to our economy. And by the time they've done their degree, if they need it to strengthen their English language skills, they've had an opportunity to do so. They've got Canadian credential. They've often got work experience through experiential education. So they're incredibly positioned to really contribute to Canada. Could we be doing more? I actually think you can always be doing more. And we continue through our global engagement strategy to actually talk to students, to think about what we could do more. And we have underway right now, being supported by the provost and by our new executive director in international engagement, a consultative process around what more does York need to be doing to ensure that we've got a rich, robust, comprehensive internationalization strategy that thinks about attracting students, increasing international activities, serving our 315,000 alumni that live and work around the world. So how do we expand and nurture international research collaboration? And I think there'll be some good recommendations that will come out of that consultation that's underway right now. And if you want to learn more about that, you can maybe circle back to one of us at the end. But thank you for that question.
Yes, I would agree with everything the President has said, and especially the part about there's always more we can do. And I think that we are looking hard at some unmet needs right now in terms of how we can continue to grow and to change our assumptions about what students need. Because increasingly, we've got this great diversity of international students who might have a different set of needs than we were used to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And so one of the things that we've done very concretely quite recently is open up all the work-study jobs on campus to both domestic and international students. There used to be a differentiator, and I think that's been a very positive measure. We've increased the staff in the York International area, immigration advisors, other support staff. I think we're still working on that. And lots of listening and consultation about what more we can be doing. And I think just educating all of ourselves about the different parts of the world that people are coming from, the challenges people can face if, for instance, there's a sudden change in the value of the currency in their home country, and how that changes suddenly overnight their financial capacity, making sure that we have the bursaries, scholarships, emergency bursaries available, and there's just a gamut of other issues. So I'm not sure whether on the graduate side, whether Tom Lobel wanted to comment, in which case he would need a microphone.
Yeah, it's another issue that is really important to us at GRAD, and so this is one of the it's coming things. Last year and this year, we undertook a comprehensive survey of what exists, only to find what's really lacking. And so we're revamping the entire graduate postdoctoral professional skills program to coordinate what exists on campus, but also to advertise it, because that's one of the problems. I mean, there are lots of individualized, sort of siloed services that you'd never know. So if there's a coordinating element to it, and then we build on top of that for the different kinds of needs that students have, and create it for an individualized type of program so that you, working with a supervisor, can kind of choose, allocate what is needed for you, which will be different from somebody else. So that's coming. It's sort of in the phase 2 stage. By early next year, it'll be up and running. But you can always. We'll help you through it.
Great. Thank you. Please.
The President mentioned our 315, soon to be 325,000 alumni after this next cycle of graduating students. And we have always had some programming around career development in conjunction with the Career Center, and some of our colleagues from, I know the Career Center and Alumni Engagement Team are here today. But we also have done recent surveys of our alumni, and we're getting more information about what people are looking for, what they need. Generally, certainly career help is very high on that list, and so with an increasingly international group of alumni as well, how do we look for opportunities to expand and build? And I think this is where, again, we've done some things. I think we've done some things well. There's certainly much more that we can do, and we're looking for the specific ways to work within some of the frameworks that already exist here to expand that to include our alumni, and to have our alumni be able to help those students as they're graduating, and indeed while they're still here. So certainly that's something that's very much on our agenda as well within the alumni engagement area.
Great. We covered a lot of viewpoints in that answer. If there's another one in the room, we'll get that one queued up, but I will ask, if the green mic could come down to this question, but I will ask a question that I've received by email. It's about the SHARP budget model. So this is from a faculty colleague who's asking, SHARP appears to have sacrificed education to budget balancing, course after course canceled. This affects U2 faculty, as UFA are protected from salary loss. It also affects students with far narrower course choice options, and affects interdisciplinary practice, as for non-music majors, even in the AMPD departments, can no longer take individual course instruction. There's an example. So please, could we evaluate the SHARP model with students in education in mind, and our sessional faculty in mind? So it's a comment, really, but perhaps you have a response to this comment that might be helpful.
Yeah, I do want to say something about this, because I find frequently that two different things are conflated. One is, on the one hand, whatever particular budget model you happen to have that specifies how the funds that come in the university and how those funds are dispersed, versus the need to balance a budget, which you have to do no matter what budget model you have in place. And going back to 2008-9, and the economic downturn, York, as many universities did, really struggled. We were clearly spending more than the revenue that we were bringing in. And that started to really peak and to become an urgent crisis by 2013, when the university was heading toward an $80 million plus negative carry forward. Or is it a structural deficit? I always forget, Gary. Deficit, right, that's even worse, the carry forward. A structural deficit, like the gap between your revenue and your expenditures starting to approach $80 million. And we hit a wall with the board, saying, where is the university heading? So we started to undertake, what are we going to do as an institution to get ourselves on solid footing? In some universities, per year, you are never allowed to spend more than you have. Like, you have to balance every year. We had allowed a situation to occur where people were having that deficit occur. And so we undertook a number of reviews. They were painful at the time, I have to say. But faculties and divisions started to really look at what could we be doing to actually put ourselves in a position of strength, so that we could take the resources that we do have and really try to align those with building our university. The SHARP budget model was in response to some of the complaints that we heard. So when we started to do that review of the budget, colleagues said, well, you know, frankly, we have no idea who gets money for what anyhow. It's completely not transparent. We don't get the money that we make. You're giving that money to someone else. Because under the incremental budget model, the old budget model, it's very hard to see where exactly the money was coming in. The money came into central year over year. Each faculty would get a certain amount of money per student, but it varied. There were different blocks. And and then sometimes special funds came in, and that was all rolled up into people's budgets. No one knew. And honestly, it was becoming counterproductive for creativity and innovation. Faculty after faculty, my own colleagues, when I was Dean of Atkinson, when we were talking about new graduate programs, would say, why would we bother creating a new graduate program? We're not going to see any of the money for those new graduate students. So in response to some of those challenges of lack of transparency, lack of incentives, we moved toward the Sharp budget model where everyone would actually see, here's the money that comes into the university, this is what faculties are getting per student, this is a contribution to shared services, and if you take actions in your faculty that you want to do new programming, you want to have a new program, you want to have some courses that we know to be very attractive, that could bring revenue in to support smaller programs, you've got that autonomy, you've got that flexibility because you know that you're going to keep that new revenue that's going to come in. So when classes are canceled, that is not because of Sharp. If units are canceling classes, they're canceling classes because they've got a problem between the enrollment that's in those classes, they've got a gap that's emerging that's too large between their revenue and their expenditures. And so if we want to solve that problem, and it's not that it can't be solved, is the solution just to slash? I never think the solution is just to cut, and we see provincially the challenge that kind of approach can get us into. But the issue here is how do you invest differently? How do you organize differently so that you can support good course diversity, even though some in maybe perhaps every other year, some very small classes would be offered? Like, what are the creative solutions that we can come up with that can solve the reason why we've got a problem with a gap occurring between revenue on the one hand and expenditures on the other? In the review that we're undertaking, we are asking everyone in the community as we go through in consultation after consultation, what more could we be doing to actually enhance cross-faculty collaboration? Are there specific problems that are disincentives for new programming? Because obviously we want to correct those problems. We want people to be motivated to develop new programs, incentivized to support students, have broad course choice for our students. These are all obligations that we need to be pursuing. We just have to figure out how do we do that with the revenue that we have at hand. And it really is completely independent of whether or not you've got a Sharp budget model or an incremental budget model or some other budget model. The Sharp budget model is much more transparent. It allows for cross-faculty or cross-program subsidization, because we know that not all programs or courses are going to be large. It allows for incentive to try to do new things, and then you hang on to that revenue. And that's why you see in Canada, in the US, university after university moving towards these more transparent budget models so that people can actually see where the money is coming in, where is it going, who's cross-subsidizing who, in a good way. And that's why we call our model a shared responsibility and accountability model, because we understand that the relationship between the money you get from government and tuition, the way in which those formula work, they are not perfectly aligned with the actual costs. So some programs got weighted at very high levels and they get more money. It's up to the university to try to look at that and to try to make some corrections so that we're making sure that we are supporting high-quality program, our research, our student services, and other priorities that are important to us.
Thank you.
Can I weigh in on that as well? Because the question also speaks to the insecurity that contract faculty can feel about whether they will have a position when courses change and when budgets are stressed in particular units. And we had a very difficult strike last year, and this was, of course, one of the big issues that was raised as a concern and that was much debated during that strike and before and after. We spent quite a bit of time last year really examining the composition of our faculty complement and trying to get to the bottom of why is it that we have so much of our teaching that is done by contract faculty and that so many contract faculty who are not having the job stability that they would like to have. We uncovered a range of factors that contribute to that situation. And one of the measures we've taken in response is actually to have a very large hiring year for tenure stream faculty last year. And I'm also really pleased that about 22% of those positions were obtained by members of CUPE 3903 Unit 2 contract faculty members through open searches. So it's obvious we have excellent contract faculty here. In many units, they determined that a contract faculty member was the best candidate for one of those positions. And so I'm pleased that we are showing some leadership at York University, I think, in trying to provide those opportunities for contract faculty to apply for and succeed in obtaining those positions. That said, there's still lots of contract faculty members who will be part of our community, teaching our students. I've been talking to a lot of people about the experience of being a contract faculty member at York University, some of the ways that people feel sometimes not recognized for the work that they do, not valued for the work that they do, not supported in the work that they do adequately. And so we are spending a fair bit of time looking at how could we strengthen some of those pieces so that everybody who contributes here is recognized as an important member of the community and feels that they are supported as best we can in their work.
Thank you. Okay, we had a question in the room.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity for me to ask a question. My question is about sustainability, but it's not about energy, and it's not about carbon. So my question is really, what is, now with the Markham campus coming on stream, and then the university becoming more research intensive, that requires resources and infrastructure, basically, to support all this. Has there been any discussions about what the right size of this university should be in terms of what's the right number to be sustainable? Because when you compare it against the big cities of the world or the cities that are considered the top 10 most livable cities, they're all under 3 million people. There's a reason why New York City, Jakarta, Sao Paulo are not on that list. So what's the right size for York University as it plans its future? Because there's a point where you can't squeeze a 10-family person into a 5-bedroom house, if you know what I mean, right? So that's my question about what's the right size for this university, maybe now or in the long term.
Yeah, let me start off with that. That was one of the additional attractive factors about establishing a Markham out in the community rather than just thinking about growing York. We actually, over the years, have spent quite a bit of time debating that question about what is the right size for this particular campus, what's the right size for Glendon. We've undertaken master planning activities to see how large the university could get. You know, we do have still available land at the Kiel campus. We have a smaller amount of expansion that could be possible at the Glendon campus. But when you look at our statistics compared to any other university in Ontario around how much space in terms of infrastructure we have per student, like what's our square foot per student. When you look at the size of our library facilities per our students, you start to real athletic facilities. You start to realize that if we're going to get much bigger, we're going to have to grow all that. So we are on the low side of some of those statistics. And it's a major, so if you talk about how big you can get, could we grow this campus bigger? Yes, we could, but we could not grow the student population bigger without growing all of those other resources. If we're to stay kind of competitive where the sector standards are. And of course, these are incredibly important aspects of the entire student learning experience, not to mention the availability of research labs, both in studios, both for students, but also faculty and so forth. So we're about our maximum size right now. Like, we shouldn't really be getting too much bigger at this campus. I think at one time when we first put in the bid for the Markham campus, we felt that we could potentially add a few thousand more students at this campus. But beyond that, you really have to start adding all that additional infrastructure. So an advantage, if we wanted to grow new programming, if we wanted to hire additional full-time complement of creating a campus in Markham, was that we didn't have to build all that additional infrastructure. It had, local restaurants. It has the Pan Am pool. It has the track that we were going to partner with behind a high school. So we were going to be able to leverage. It has parking. It has the district energy. So it had a number of resources that already in Markham, the incredible transportation system that we were going to be able to leverage there, so that we could focus on just putting up the building that we needed for the actual students in a very flexible format. So that was part of the overall strategy for how we could continue to expand, which could also benefit this campus, because, or potentially Glendon, for a couple of reasons. One, aside from just attracting students from York Region to all of our campuses, there's possibility that depending on how Markham eventually lands, that there could be some shifting even at this campus, which could potentially open up some different ways of thinking about what we're doing here. We could incubate some ideas about how you use space at the Markham campus, which we could then apply here. So I don't know whether or not Carol wants to add anything from her perspective on our infrastructure, but I'd say we're a few thousand short of how much more we could grow this campus.
Thanks. The only thing I'd like to add, and I think that those are exactly the points I'd make about what a great opportunity in Markham to build the university campus of the future that really is integrated into the community. So we leverage the resources that are already there, and what a sustainable way of developing a university campus. So those are really important points. In terms of additional size, we have to look at the demographics as well. Toronto's a very expensive place to live. What are our new students and students of the future? Where do they want to study? We're finding more and more students want to stay closer to home, to be able to live at home and not have to necessarily move out. And a lot of the new families that we're serving in our communities also want to have their students closer to home to support family life, even while through their university education. So the strategy really is more in the direction of going out to where the students are, where the needs are, and where the industry is that will also support the richness of the academic programs, including very deep experiential education opportunities. So that's really, it's not just about the size and the footprint here, those are extremely important aspects of our ability to grow here at Keele, but also what the student of the future is asking of us.
Could I add one comment, please? Sorry, something occurred to me. The growth of the student population and the faculty and staff population is one thing. However, we could think quite differently about the Keele campus, given that we do have some land. And if we don't need all the land strictly for our academic purposes, and of course we don't want to rule out some future, some people would say we need another science and engineering building right now, I know. So we don't want to use up all the land. But we could be thinking quite creatively of different kinds of development on this land that could help experiential education, it could help research collaboration. For example, we could have a research park or an innovation park, or we could have a long-term care facility that would create experiential education opportunities for psychology, social work, nursing, kinesiology, for example. So there are things that we could do, and one of the initiatives that we're starting this year, and how many of you remember Lands for Learning? We're around for those original consultations, a few of you. Where it's kickstarting a conversation around that Lands for Learning again, because we want to start thinking about what are creative opportunities that we could use our land that would not talking selling, by the way, I'm not a big seller of land, but leasing or collaborating or whatever, but that we could actually utilize the land that would not only advance research, collaboration, innovation, experiential education, but potentially even revenue through leases.
Okay, thank you. Do we have another one in the room? Okay, please go ahead.
So, thanks for the information. My question would be to Carol. So, some of our buildings on campus, they're almost abandoned, but we have to maintain them. So, we keep building more infrastructure, but we don't maintain some of our old buildings, like Burton Auditorium. So, is there any plans to reconstruct some of these old spaces? They're beautiful spaces in the past.
I'd love to answer that. I'll go back to what we heard when we did budget consultations just last year, our first round of budget consultations. We heard loud and clear from the whole community that deferred maintenance was a major issue. It not only impacted our ability to use spaces, but it impacted how we feel about ourselves, how engaged we feel with our university, because sometimes we went into spaces that didn't look like we really cared very much. In reaction to that, our board, when we tabled our budget last year, approved a doubling of our investment in deferred maintenance on an annual basis. So it's now in the neighborhood of $18 million a year. Now, our total deferred maintenance backlog is more like $350 million. So it's not that it's not going to get us there in the very short term, but it recognizes that in constrained times, reflecting at the same time we took a 10% tuition rollback, at the same time the senior administration and the board then agreed that we would double our investment in deferred maintenance. So I think that's one really important point. With respect to spaces like the Burton Auditorium, and I know that space specifically, there's lots of urban legend about why that space is closed, and I'm always interested when I actually ask the experts and find out that those aren't really the reasons why it's closed, but there are health and safety issues there that we have to look at that as a space. Right now, many of you know that we also had approved a $20 million 5-year program to enhance our classroom spaces on campus, and we're well underway in that planning process. Burton Auditorium might be one of those spaces. So as we do the review of that particular space and see if it's economical to be able to reinvest and reopen that space, then that would be one that I too would be hoping that we might be able to bring back into the community. I think very importantly, the very important part of the question, though, is that we need to have pride in the facilities, the spaces we move throughout, and I hope that we're going to see some really significant changes because of the investments that the university's decided to make.
Thank you. We're down to our last few minutes, so this could potentially be the last question. I'd like to give the last question to a student. So the student has asked, what plans are you considering to make our campus more inviting as a social space for staff, students, and faculty?
Can I start with my pet project? The Harry Arthur Common, Harry Arthur's Common. I know that we as a community went through some pain with the removal of service by Metrolinx of the GO buses into the Common. And, I'm a GO user myself, and I know it's quite different being able to get off in front of the building I work in versus having to get off at the 407. However, what that has allowed us to do is to really think about how we use that very central space in the Common. I know there's other spaces as well, but this one is a bit of a pet for me. We're embarking on the process of reimagining how we'll use that space. One of the fundamental ideas in our campus master plan is being able to be pedestrian friendly, so we can move through our spaces on foot or on bicycles and not necessarily having to dodge vehicular traffic. So I think that as we've got used to the buses being off campus, got used to the introduction and the use of the subways and how we move through and onto our campus differently, we have the opportunity to think about the Harry Arthur Common. One of the things we're talking about now, and there's a sort of a small group engaged in the question now, is should we start programming the space? Should we start inviting things to happen and then see what comes out of it? Or should we build it and hope they'll come to the space? And I'll be really interested in the rest of the community community's feedback as we consider that point as to just start using it. You'll see we put new picnic tables there, for example, this summer, and they're heavily used almost immediately. You didn't know where those people were before they sat down the picnic tables, but now they're there, and that's fantastic. So we'll add more small little amenities like that, and then see how the community decides we would like to develop that space. That's just one I know, but it's a pretty important and central space to our community.
Yes, we have time for a little bit more.
Could I? Yes. I think one of the things, maybe I should introduce myself. I'm the newest VP with the team, and I've been charged with the responsibility for setting up a new division around equity, people, and culture. And when I think about creating better places and spaces for students, I don't just think about the physical spaces, although I think that enhanced physical spaces are really kind of critical. One of the things that I think about when I look at institutions is that people are at the core of everything that we do, and we really need to be paying attention to relationships, strengthening relationships, and working across sectors. So part of my role here is to be looking at issues around equity, diversity, inclusion, working with the Center for Human Rights, Equity and Inclusion, but also bringing together the whole labor relations files and human resources, so we're in a better position to service the communities that are so important to us. So I just wanted to add that kind of piece to kind of balance off the discussion around physical space with the importance that we also place on people who are of critical importance to this institution.
Thank you.
I was just going to see if there was time to let one more question happen, because she had her hand up for a long time.
Oh, by all means, let's do it.
Thank you so much, President Lenton. I wanted to go back briefly to the question about capacity and growth. There has, of course, been a lot of anxiety among humanities and liberal arts programs with decreasing enrollments, and many of us have been involved in extensive rethinking, reimagining exercises to see how we can attract more students, but it has been an anxiety-driven exercise. And I'm just wondering, given the fact that that provincial funding, at least right now, is no longer linked to growth, to student enrollment numbers, whether or not there is greater commitment from the university to commit to supporting and acknowledging liberal arts programs that are smaller. So focusing not so much on numbers as on quality and student experience.
I think that's a great question to end this session on, and so thank you so much for asking it. You know, most of you know I'm a liberal arts person myself. I'm a sociologist by training, and have always fundamentally believed that creativity rests. I'm not saying that the others in the non-liberal arts, I'm going to get criticized immediately. I'm a creative engineer. What are you talking about? But that, you know, the arts, humanities, social sciences play such an incredibly important role. And we see that ourselves in understanding the impact of technological and scientific innovation. You have to understand the human component. When you look at these fascinating interdisciplinary approaches about how, you know, the arts or how about the humanities can be aligned with, you know, you see programs now, digital humanities. I mean, there's so much rich opportunity for overlap. And frankly, we also just need people who want to major, who continue to be the authors, the artists, the sociologists, the political scientists. I'm not going to name them all. So this university, this is a strength. This is an historical strength. It's an existing strength. I would hope that we have never been so driven by numbers that we ever gave the message that just because a program was small, that we shouldn't support it. You know, it may well be the case that you're only going to ever have a certain number people who might specialize in a field. And often physics is given as the example for very small programs. We want to be driven by quality. We want to be driven by what we value, by our priorities. So I have no problem making a commitment to that, answering yes to that question. But I think you're spot on in identifying that we actually have an opportunity with one of the pluses, one of the advantages of grant transfer money moving a bit away from just thinking about enrollment and actually being linked, especially if they're linked to metrics that we care about, like graduation rates, like retention, like employment of our students. We care about that, although we would not say it's always a completely straight line. Experiential education, scholarship. These are metrics that we value. They are linked to priorities that we value. And we have an opportunity right now to wean ourselves off a little bit of just thinking about enrollment and how we can actually use this time to focus on enhancing our quality. I mean, excellence is one of the pillars. It's right there in our university academic plan. And I want to say that I do think we have to pay attention to the revitalization of the liberal arts. I do believe we have to help students understand better about the value of the liberal arts and how that does connect to a huge plethora of opportunities in life. So I think we could be doing a better job of that, and we should. But I also think this is a tremendous opportunity that we should not squander to really focus on quality.
Okay, thank you. I'm afraid that's all we have time for today, but the conversation does not end here. If you submitted a question by email or by Twitter, the President's Office is committed to responding to those questions, so they will get back to you directly with answers to those questions. There will also be an opportunity for a short reception in the CIBC Lounge, so please feel free to meet us out there, and the panel will make their way to the CIBC Lounge for there's some refreshments and for a little bit of time together. So I would like to end by thanking you for joining us here today. Thank you for your thoughtful questions, those that we received both via email, Twitter, and those in the room. And I hope that we can continue this discussion as part of the York community. Thank you. Bye-bye.